Nick Kyrgios having a meltdown is one of the most common features of tennis these days. Whenever he does decide to compete in a tournament, we get to see a lot of things, the most obvious ones being his undeniable talent and controversies. Kyrgios' 2022 Wimbledon shenanigans have been crazy to say the least, and we'll be taking a look at some of his actions during the first round match and more. First up, Kyrgios' battle with Paul Jubb, line judge, and the local support. In this year's Wimbledon, Nick Kyrgios opened his journey with a match against young Brit Paul Jubb, and it was much harder than he would have anticipated. Jubb was out of the blocks quickly, and as has been the case at Wimbledon, Kyrgios isn't exactly the kind of player the English people approve of. So that meant the entire court was full of support for Jubb, and Kyrgios was visibly annoyed with his performance and surroundings. He gathered himself a little bit to make a swift recovery and take the lead in the game, but the home support was huge and they helped their local star to remain stuck in. That helped produce a moment of madness as the game went to a tiebreak and Jubb prevailed, forcing a 5-setter. But in all of this, Jubb was probably the calmer one because Kyrgios kept taking shots at the umpire and even got frustrated with the line judge, calling her a snitch. He even said that she has no friends, and that was another Kyrgios moment that'll be remembered. In fact, he wasn't just battling the line judge, the umpire, and of course Jubb, but also had to take considerable criticism from the fans. Nick's not quite the gentleman who can ignore the crowd, and usually likes to reply, sometimes verbally and sometimes after a great point. He was terribly angry with the line judge for snitching on him because she talked to the umpire about something. Never change, Nick, never change. Then he recovered to win the decider. During all this heated drama, Kyrgios somehow remembered that there was a game to be won. His serving had been fantastic throughout, and he needed that to prevail in the final set, which was another thriller. He was seen constantly muttering to himself and getting angry at some calls made by the umpire, but he had enough in the tank to stay competitive until the very end. We've got to credit Jubb for a classic performance too. He came so close to recording the biggest win of his career on the biggest stage, and if he had held on to his serve for the final time, we could have seen a dramatic tiebreak to decide a superb game of tennis. It just wasn't meant to be in the end, as Kyrgios got the crucial break and closed out the match. By the end, it became pretty evident that buying tickets for Nick's matches should be a priority because they'll be box office. On a personal level, talking to the media, Kyrgios reflected on the match and realized that his level wasn't what it should be, and he'll be looking to improve ahead of the tougher rounds. He also pointed out how the win was dedicated to the rowdy crowd, who had constantly criticized him during the game and said that, "This one's for you." He surely knows how to get under the skins of the people, and Nick didn't hold back when he admitted to spitting in the direction of the fans. The Australian believes that they were disrespecting him, and he wouldn't do it to anyone supporting him, and that was followed by more drama in the third round. If Nick's first round win over Paul Jubb was a blockbuster one, the fans who watched him against Stefanos Tsitsipas in the third round will be over the moon. It was a pure thriller and has been easily this edition's best match because of the level of talent and the amount of controversy. Kyrgios, coming into this match, was considered a major threat, even though in terms of the seedings, the favorite should have been Steph. However, once the match begins, it doesn't matter who is the favorite and who isn't. Once again, Kyrgios started a little slow, but didn't drop his serve, forcing a tiebreaker in the first set. But the Greek asserted himself on the match and edged ahead in the tiebreak, and wrapped it up with relative comfort. Nick could have easily folded, and it wouldn't have been surprising, given his history of shock losses. But this Nick is different. He's a man possessed, he's a man on a mission, and there was no way he's losing to someone like Steph. Not today. He came back in a dominant fashion to get a 2-1 lead by winning the second and third sets 6-4, 6-3, and the tide changed dramatically. Kyrgios was being backed by the fans now, and for Tsitsipas, well, Wimbledon comes just a little too soon for individual coaching to kick in. So, sorry mate. However, in the fourth set, we saw glimpses of quality from Tsitsipas, who remained a nagging figure who just wouldn't give up. His only problem was the poor returning, and he'll be kicking himself for not creating enough chances as he failed to break Kyrgios even once. He still forced a tiebreak in the fourth, only for Kyrgios to close it out in a thrilling manner. Now, let's review the fun post-match conferences. The post-match reaction from both the players was unexpectedly full of drama. In fact, if you haven't watched the post-match handshake, we suggest you get on YouTube ASAP. Wimbledon, on their official channel, did cut it, and that's a shame, but all the more reason to catch it. In the press conferences after the match, Tsitsipas was full of rage and labeled Kyrgios as a bully and evil. He went on to claim that Nick was probably a bully during his childhood and still feeds on that. It was obvious that the Greek star was discussing the event when Nick complained to the umpire and wanted Tsitsipas disqualified for hitting someone in the crowd with the ball. Kyrgios, who was appearing after Tsitsipas, completely denied any moment that could be considered as bullying and said that Tsitsipas is just soft. He even said that he hadn't done anything disrespectful towards Steph, and he's probably right. We've seen far worse from Nick, but it's maybe the underarm serving that got under the skin of Tsitsipas. Both the players were fined for their conduct, with Steph being fined the joint most during this year's edition, a staggering 10,000 GBP. Kyrgios, meanwhile, finds himself in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon for only the second time in his career. He has set up a clash with Chilean star Cristian Garin, and it should be a match to watch, as the Australian gears up to set up a potential semi-final match against Rafael Nadal. And in other related news, Kyrgios has been charged with assault. In a shocking turn of events, Nick Kyrgios has been charged with assault on his former girlfriend, Chiara Passari. If the Australian superstar is found guilty, he could face a maximum sentence of 2 years in prison. Well, that's a shame for any Kyrgios stans, because this is a disgusting controversy to be involved in, especially if it's proven. But then again, things aren't looking great for the Aussie, because his anger and tantrums are quite visible on the court, and it's not hard to connect the dots. We really hope the allegations aren't true, but if they are, we're sorry, but that's curtains for our support for Kyrgios. Djokovic produces crazy comeback against Sinner. Novak Djokovic is known for his amazing comebacks and his ability to break hearts during the course of the match. He's found himself down in terrible situations, but always finds a way of winning the match in the unlikeliest of scenarios. He did the same last night as he was facing Jannik Sinner in the quarters of Wimbledon. It was set to be a proper test for Novak, and the Italian star stormed to a 2-set lead over Djokovic. But that's when the Serb turned the game around dramatically. He didn't give Sinner a moment's peace and won the remaining 3 sets with relative comfort, winning the match 5-7, 2-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-2. With that win, Djokovic moves into the semi-finals of Wimbledon, where he'll be facing the local hero, Cameron Norrie. And finally, Nadal and Djokovic chasing history. Rafael Nadal is having the best year of his career in a long time, having won both of the Grand Slams in the calendar year. Now he's potentially on the verge of winning Wimbledon, but he'll have to get through Taylor Fritz. And then his opponent in the semi-finals could be Kyrgios. If he does come through unscathed against those two, he'd be facing one of Norrie or Djokovic in the finals, as he chases a record-setting 23rd Grand Slam title. Djokovic, on the other hand, is looking for Grand Slam number 21, and he's 2 wins away from his 7th Wimbledon title. So who's your money on, Nadal or Djokovic? Or could we have a new winner? That's a wrap for this video. Do you agree with Kyrgios' antics on the court, or is there a limit to what should be allowed? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.